I don't trust Reform UK. It is already well known that they manipulate public opinion through propaganda tactics, doing all they can to dominate the public ear with invasive but deeply inaccurate soundbites, attending interviews and discussions where they bellow their message loudly over anyone who dares contradict them, and using populist methods to capture the minds of those who, for whatever reason, won't check the truth of what they're saying. But I recently wondered if they might be using another form of deception. Is Reform UK using voter poll manipulation to increase the public impression of their popularity? I don't know if anyone else thinks this is weird, but I have never known an electoral term when voter intent polls were made headline news from the very start. Reform UK were claiming to be top of the polls almost from the beginning of Labour's current term, and confidently declaring themselves the next British government in waiting. It's an indicator of how deeply British politics has changed with the introduction of social media that no one seems to have realised how unusual this emphasis on the polls is. But how are they doing this? A party usually enjoys a honeymoon period after getting in, but this didn't happen with Labour in 2024. Were Reform somehow able to manipulate the polls in the same way they seem to be using their Russian and big oil backers to access social media manipulation methods like popularity boosting bots and comments skewing troll farms? Their reason for doing this is obvious. If you are able to convince the electorate that the nation is rooting for you, it increases the likelihood that they will be swayed to vote for you when the time comes. It also works to discredit the incumbent government if they are consistently lower in the polls. But do Reform have a hidden edge in this? The evidence suggests that they do. In the high-stakes arena of 2020's British politics, a worrying question has risen from the fringes of social media to the heart of national security debates. Are voting in pension polls being manipulated by external forces or internal actors? Specifically, the spotlight has increasingly turned toward Reform UK, their international connections with Russia and big oil, and the potential that this may allow them to exploit cyber warfare tactics to influence the electorate. The first clue is the Nathan Gill conviction. The investigation into Reform UK's connections reached a milestone in late 2025 with the sentencing of Nathan Gill, the party's former leader in Wales. Gill was sentenced to over 10 years in prison for accepting bribes from pro-Russian interests. His role was to deliver a specific narrative, pro-Kremlin talking points designed to sow division within the UK. While this isn't poll rigging in the traditional sense, it is a confirmed instance of a party official being paid to skew the public discourse that polls eventually measure. What makes this more relevant is that Reform leader Nigel Farage was aggressively presenting exactly the same divisive talking points at the same time, which raises suspicion that the Russian influence did not stop at Gill and goes right to the top of the party. The crypto donation controversy compounds suspicion against Reform. In February 2026, the Joint Committee on National Security Strategy issued an urgent warning regarding Reform UK's funding. As the first major party to embrace cryptocurrency, Reform has opened a door that security experts fear is being illegally exploited. Investigators are currently scrutinising multi-million-pound donations, which are linked to platforms that reportedly host Russian intelligence-backed operations. The concern is that crypto mixers are being used to wash dark money, thus allowing foreign state actors to finance political movements under the guise of legitimate donations. There is also evidence of a Russian-manufactured pro-reform public consensus base, use of bot-based popularity boosting and algorithm control to create a large portion of society that has been innocently manipulated into a deep trust for Reform UK and its projected beliefs. The most subtle form of manipulation is that applied via social media algorithms. National security agencies like the NCSC have tracked Russian-aligned bot networks that systematically amplify Reform UK's core messaging. By flooding social media with specific anti-establishment themes, these actors create a false consensus. That is a deceptively manipulated mass perception of reality, which is profoundly untrue, but enough people believe it to make it the accepted norm in some parts of society. When a voter sees a narrative trending every day, their opinion may shift. When a polls canvasser calls that voter, the manufactured opinion is recorded as a legitimate data point, creating a feedback loop that artificially inflates the party's perceived momentum and skews public belief. But voters need to be aware of Reform's likely involvement in these activities right now, as their divisive interference with British politics aims to falsely discredit our nation's government and spread fear in people's hearts. So is Reform UK using voter poll manipulation. The evidence suggests that while the polling companies themselves remain secure, the environment in which voters form their opinions is under constant digital assault. Whether through direct bribery, opaque financial streams, or AI-driven bot networks, The alleged reality captured by the polls may be more of a staged pantomime than a clear reflection of the British electorate, and this may not just apply to Reform's apparent popularity, but that of other parties who are unknowingly riding high on the back of foreign manipulated public opinion. The Green Party's rise in popularity, for example, while innocent, may be partly due to the misrepresentation of Labour's policies and systematic smearing of Sir Keir Starmer created through covert foreign interference. As we await the Rycroft Review's conclusion, the UK government must decide how to protect the integrity of the ballot box in an age of invisible warfare. And we, the voting public, must learn to be vigilant against these attacks on our democracy. One highly important lesson we need to take from this is that we must not just accept on face value anything that discredits the government or endorses Reform UK, their views or their policies. We need to check the facts instead of just assuming what they're telling us is true. I would suggest checking all political news with Reuters and Full Fact as good starting points for research. It is also worth checking your customary news sources with MediaBias.com to understand where they stand on the political spectrum and how reliable their reporting is. If you'll take my advice, assume nothing, test for truth and research everything,